Welcome. Welcome to a very special episode of Gabbin' and Games. Here's what's going on. Here's what's happening in the world. Hey there, fellas. So, there's some news today, and we can talk about it. There's some new game. There's a super new big deal game developer that just got announced, made up of some real fucking superstars that actually know what the fuck they're doing. That's impressive. There is the story about Blumhouse is getting into horror games. One of the Sony external producers of Twisted Metal 2012 is the president over there now. So there's a lot of shit going on. But the main thing going on is there's a bunch of Activision, FTC, Sony news. And more importantly, I've seen a bunch of people debating, discussing, yelling, arguing online. And I says, well, that's the place for me. And honestly, joking aside, I am kind of curious about it because I don't really understand what a lot of people are kind of going on about. Let me give you the high level news. The phone lines are open. This is the main topic. I mean, you know me, I'll talk about whatever the fuck you want, but this is the main topic today. And so this is the time to convince me. Not that you need to. Hello, El Greco in the chat, you old so-and-so. This is the time to convince me. It's not your job. But I'm an open-minded fella. Here's the news, right? Last night, I'm going to bed 11 o'clock, and is his name Ben Smith, the most boring fucking name in the world? Ben Smith, who's a vice president or president or something over at Microsoft, big wig over there, tweets out, hey, man, we just signed this deal with Nintendo. It's giving them 10 years of Call of Duty. And also in his tweet, he said Activision titles as well and Xbox titles. The announcement officially said Call of Duty. So it's hard to, I don't know if it means we'll be getting Gears of War on the successor to the Switch, or if it's more, who the fuck knows. But the main thing is, hey, man, remember how we said we were going to do this? We offered it to Sony, offered it to Microsoft. Now it's a done deal. Papers are signed. Okay? That happened last night. Okay. Then in America, it was sleepy time, but last night there was a whole meeting with I think was it the FTC or the European group? It's all mixed up in my brain pan. But there was a presentation by Phil Spencer, by this Ben Smith fella, where they basically were talking to, who was the regulatory body they met with? Brad Smith, Ben, it doesn't matter, same goddamn thing. Brad Smith, fine. Suddenly his name matters more because it's less generic. Can you imagine the parents who are like, we should name him? What do you think we should name him, Mr. Smith? Well, Mr. Smith, I don't know. How about something like Brad? Okay, it was the European Union. So Xbox goes up there, they give some presentations, and they basically say, hey, what is all this monopoly talk? Overall generations, we're looking at like a 70-30 split, meaning PlayStation, since their inception, has been a 70% owner of the market. We've been a 30%. Certainly right now, that's even stronger. If you look at Benji Sales, who I like to read a lot, he says, keep in mind, this percentage isn't specifically about Series X to PS5. It's comparing the several generations. He says the gap in Series X and PS5 total install base is closer than that. The holiday period of 2022, this Benji talking, was a total blowout for PS5. Okay, so this idea of like, well, where's the monopoly coming from? And then I got people coming at me when I'm talking about this. They think I have a dog in the fight. I don't have a fucking dog in the fight. This one guy says to me, he says that it's like, oh, Jaffe, you're supporting a monopoly. And I just don't really understand what the fuck they're talking about. Nubulic says, what exactly does Nintendo get out of this, especially if it's streaming only? Well, it doesn't say it's streaming only. I think most people assume that if Call of Duty as is, now maybe they might bring Call of Duty Mobile to Switch pretty soon. But other than that, I think most people assume if anything is going to the Switch as is, it's going to be streaming. But I think next gen is obviously a different story, which will be happening in the next 10 years. Also, it's not, according to Brad Smith, it's not just Call of Duty. It's Xbox and Activision, which means Crash, which means Spyro, which means Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush could probably run on Switch. So sure, you don't understand anyone shilling Microsoft. Okay, so I'm here to facilitate your anger and your frustration. I'm here to learn, because here's what I'd like to know first. Nobody in God's green earth doesn't understand why Microsoft wants this to happen and why Sony doesn't. We get it. Of course. However, it's a difference between wanting it to happen and actually believing the horse shit. Like, does anyone really think this is a monopoly? Does anyone, it's staggering the FTC and the European Union groups have gone along with this. It's like, what monopoly are you protecting the customers from? They're in last place. It's one fucking video game. It's a big deal video game, but so what? God of War is a big deal video game. Not as big of a deal. But you can't get that on Xbox. So I guess I'm here to learn as well. I don't understand. The phone lines are open if you want to call 619-752-0548. 0548. I don't bite. Maybe I do, but I won't bite you. Maybe I will. I don't know. Raveno says, Jaffe, it's not a monopoly and it's not about one video game. Okay, well then explain that to me. If it's not a monopoly, then why do the FTC and the European Union, a couple of different groups over there, have an issue? Yeah, I'm with you, Wooden's Throne. Hey, I was about to answer your call. Maybe the FTC and actual monopoly busters are keen to more metrics than we are. Okay, sure. Okay, but then in that case, don't you think that the people in the know would say, oh, the Michael Pachters of the world, or the people who sort of really understand this shit better than people like me, when they go, oh, well, yeah, there's some stuff that you're not allowed to know about. It's Jaffe. What's up? Who's calling me at home? I swear to God, I put on my face for this.
Hey, it's Rapner.
Well, okay, so on one hand, you're saying it's not a monopoly. You do not believe it's a monopoly,
no, it's
correct?
Not a monopoly.
Okay.
It is not a monopoly. And a monopoly is the set number of the total market or industry. And even with them buying Activision, Blizzard, it's not a monopoly.
Okay, so then if that's the case, why would hang on. Let's just take that one first. If that's the case, then why is the FTC, who clearly should know what a monopoly is, why are these European Union groups getting involved at all? Isn't their whole job is to make sure that we just want to make sure monopolies don't form in order to hurt competition, which would hurt our customers? If it's not a monopoly, and I agree, I don't see how it's a monopoly, why are they even involved?
That's a very good question, and I don't know what exactly the EU and the UK have said. And the FTC, the weird thing is they approved it before they didn't. So it's like they approved it, and then when there was pushback from the EU and the UK, then they suddenly sued to block it. All I can figure is, I do know this. The FTC doesn't just try to stop monopolies. They try to stop anything that would cause not just an unfair advantage, which would be a monopoly, but anything that could harm consumers in a way that forces consumers to have to buy something else in order to get access to it.
Okay, but that doesn't make any sense. So anytime anyone builds a better mousetrap that causes someone to have to go out and buy something else, the FTC is going to try to block it. Wouldn't that pretty much kill any competition, including the original PlayStation 1? Until the PlayStation 1 came on the scene, everybody was okay buying Genesis and Nintendo. I mean, I don't know if I agree.
Well, no, think of it this way. it's not that they're building a better mousetrap. It's that they're buying the parts to the mousetrap that they themselves are too lazy to make themselves.
That's not okay.
So
Hang on. Wait. It doesn't matter if they're. Wait a minute. But you simply throwing in the word lazy and sort of a human judgment to the thing is irrelevant. The FTC is not set up to go, you know what? This isn't a monopoly, but we don't particularly like the way you choose to develop video games. Come on. I mean, that's irrelevant.
No, it's not just that. No, but it's okay. Look, Call of Duty. Everybody says Call of Duty. I'll go a step further. Look at games like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. Activision has those IPs. Right now, if there's a new game that comes out, it comes out on everything. Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X.
That's simply not accurate, by the way.
Their fear is that Microsoft is going to do what they did when they bought Bethesda. They're going to go, oh, it would make no sense to monopolize these and make them exclusive. And then they went and did it anyway.
They never actually said that, though. They said it's a case-by-case basis when it comes to Bethesda.
They never said they were never going to make them exclusive. What they did was they said things publicly. Like,
but who cares if they make it exclusive? Who cares if they make?
Obviously, the FTC and the EU. And
but this goes back to the thing that I'm trying to be educated on. If they said those things and the UK and the FTC is using that statement to suggest that because which they didn't say those things, but because you said those things, and now suddenly we have exclusives for Redfall or whatever, that still doesn't make it a monopoly.
No, it's not a monopoly.
So what do they care?
The CMA did a statement. Hold on, I'm going to try to find what the CMA said, because they didn't usually, I don't think they used the word monopoly. Oh my God. This is what I hate about the internet nowadays. You find an article and then you click it. They want money.
I think
it had to do with a lot more than just games though, Jaffe. I think the biggest thing was, because people always go, Sony. And ain't just Sony bitching about this. It's Google and NVIDIA. And then Google and NVIDIA are bitching about it because of streaming from NVIDIA's side and because of like AI and such. And
NVIDIA didn't NVIDIA just make a deal with them?
Evidently, which probably is why Phil is making deals with Nintendo now. Because if you get NVIDIA out of there, then now you just have Sony and Google. And I guess rumor is there's 3 other companies, but nobody knows where they are, like from what sectors.
Yeah, NVIDIA just said we're going to do 10 years of putting our games on GeForce.
Yeah, this isn't the first time Microsoft has run into these problems, though. If you go to Wikipedia and look at Microsoft acquisitions and mergers, Microsoft's history is this.
It doesn't matter.
See somebody doing something better than us, buy it. And they've done it over 100 times, and they've been blocked. Many, many times have they been blocked. And it's all about, it all goes back to the Standard Oil situation and the monopolies. Like, even though this would not make them a monopoly, it gives them the possibility of becoming, like, perfect example. Say Ubisoft totally F's up, which it looks like they're going to do, and ends up just going out of business and has to sell their IPs. Microsoft buys 2 or 3 of those, and EA buys 1 or 2, and maybe Sony buys 1.
Yeah.
Now you've got how much of the market now? You don't know. I think that might be what they're kind of like trying to stave off. Is like, hey, you already bought one publisher. You took a bunch of games that used to be available to anyone, no matter what, consumer-wise, no matter what box they bought, doesn't matter which plastic they own, and then you decided.
Okay, so but wait a minute. So what you're saying, though, is that it's not personal. There's a number. There's a number that the FTC and the European Union regulatory bodies say. Yeah. Hang on. Well, no, because you're saying this isn't a monopoly. So let's assume the monopoly thing is hyperbole at this point. So there's a number that these regulatory bodies have in mind that say once you have this many exclusives on your console, you have crossed a line, sir, and in that we're going to block your ability to create in that way any more exclusives. I don't think you're saying that, because if you were saying that, then surely Sony would have stepped over that line well before Microsoft, correct?
The way you worded it, yes.
Well, what other way is there to word it? I mean, you're basically saying the bodies are saying we don't like when you have games on this system.
Big merger. It's $69 billion.
Yeah, I understand.
And it takes a gigantic. If you look at the industry as a pie graph, Activision Blizzard King, they're a huge slice of pie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at like Xbox, not Microsoft, because Microsoft is, I mean, they're over $2 trillion now.
Okay.
But if you just look at the Xbox part of it, they're not that big of a slice of pie. They're smaller than Sony and Nintendo, like way smaller.
Yes, but they're 30% to Sony's 70, give or take.
Yeah. See, the reason I don't like it is I don't
care why you don't like it. I want to know why the FTC is blocking it.
Exactly why. Because, okay, that's the weird one for me, the FTC. Because they approved it before they sued to block it. And unfortunately, because it's a suit, I don't know exactly where to find out exactly what they said.
Okay.
As to why they're trying to block it.
All right. Well, so let me ask you a final question. Would you like to see this deal go through or not?
Me personally, no, because I don't like to see big, huge companies just get bigger and huger, because then you end up down the road to where you just have giant corporations that are too big to fail. And I've seen what that does to the economy if one of these things does fail. Not that
okay, but so then the real issue should be more.
It has nothing to do with video games.
Right. The real issue in your mind is that there should be a cap to how big a company can get.
Yeah, like don't have too many fingers and too many pies. And Microsoft already has a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. They're an
so does Sony. I mean, so do all of these companies.
Sony does too, but Sony's mainly consumer electronics. They don't really. I mean, that's not actually. They've started recently getting into other things. All right,
I'm going to let you go, Ravnos. Thank you for your take. I appreciate it, buddy. There he goes, off into the night. He doesn't want it to happen. I can tell you, I think this guy just left did he leave a message? Let's see if these things do messages. Let's see. I don't know. All right, phone line's open. Yeah, they make movies and music and TV and insurance and credit cards. All that's true. These corporations are already huge. The deal is just going to cause Sony to try harder to compete. All gamers. Again, here's what I'll tell you. I mean, I see some of you guys in the chat, but a lot of you guys in the chat, no offense, are just sort of saying things that are not really relevant. It's just sort of an emotional response, right? So like somebody in the chat's like, well, they shouldn't be able to do it. Hey, I'll get you one sec. Hang on, caller. I'm sorry. Somebody in the chat is like saying, they're not doing it the right way in terms of how they think video game companies should be built. And it's like, okay, so just your own personal ethics of how games should be built, that should be, you think the FTC's sitting around going, I don't like the way they crunched on Uncharted. I mean, it's a ridiculous concept to assume that feeling that you personally have about how things get done is tied into sort of the monopoly law. All right, caller, what's up? It's Jaffe.
Hey, Jaffe, what's going on? I will give you the skinny on where you are with the FTC/CMA.
Okay, go.
Okay, so the FTC's main talking point, from my understanding, I've read it verbatim, is not the console market space. It's the market space that specifically Microsoft a couple years ago has been saying where their main competitor is cloud. It's Amazon, it's Apple, it's Google.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the streaming stuff mostly.
But like but cloud is basically like, you know what AWS servers, Amazon's AWS servers are.
I do, but as it relates to Xbox, they're talking about streaming video games, right? They're not just talking about storage.
Yes, but everyone's talking about their own cloud infrastructure. Like that's what they're going to use. So their main competitor is the Apple, is the Amazon, and in terms of percentage, they have like 60% of the market when it comes to cloud. And I think it's, in terms of right now gaming cloud, it's like they are the largest, because Luna was not a thing, it failed, and Google's Stadia dedicated thing failed. So the main thing the FTC has an issue is it's not the console market space, and it's not their position in the console market space in terms of their market share. It's the future of what it's going to be down the line. And primarily, they have a giant hold. And here's the thing: you add in that they are really the only place in town where you can play PC games. You have to use the operating system. You have to use Windows OS. So you have that on top of where they're going to go if they have these IPs. So the problem with this is
hang on a second, because everything was sort of making sense until the last sentence. If what you're saying is the bee in the bonnet for the FTC and the European commissions, then why don't they have Microsoft address that? Why would they even ever bring up Call of Duty if it has nothing to do with a specific game?
Because Call of Duty is the talking point, because it's the largest IP in terms of overall player base and impact to the actual overall market. It's one of the things
but what does that have to do? What does that have to do with the issue that you're saying the FTC actually has, which is who's going to have the highest percentage of cloud servers, whether you're streaming video games or you're storing Microsoft files?
I'm getting to that.
Please.
So the reason, okay, so their thing is, Microsoft's thing is they want to have an app that's on your TV to access Game Pass, aka Call of Duty and everything that they would own under the sun. Right. Okay. That's their future. So the issue is, and this is why, and you kind of answered your own question earlier with NVIDIA. So the reason why NVIDIA was originally against it was because of their service, which is GeForce Now, or the hell it's called.
Right.
And they were like, well, if Microsoft owns Activision Blizzard, we're not going to get WoW or COD or Diablo or Candy or whatever else.
Right. And they didn't, and by the way, just to be clear, they didn't have a legal position. They just didn't like it, of course.
Right. But here's the other part of that coin, and I don't mean to go off, but like the reason why the FTC and everyone brings up all of a sudden and now has this stance, and primarily it's kind of in a way using Microsoft, unfortunately, as the main scapegoat, is there's a new regime in the FTC that's now taking, an eagle eye on large.
I get it. I understand. I get that. But again, even if you're going to do that, and maybe that's why a lot of the people in the know say that this thing is probably going to go through, because I understand right now that the FTC.
The people that are saying it's going to go through are the Michael Pachters. The Michael Pachter has actually stock in Activision and in Microsoft.
Okay, but my point. Okay, fine. But what I will say though is that the people who are saying it is going to go through, they're ultimately it's like the woman who I guess is a nightmare that Biden put in there.
Lena Khan.
She is in there, and she's sort of somehow, whether directly or indirectly, been given the mandate of don't give these big tech companies any more power, blah, blah, blah. And that's great and everything. But ultimately, legally speaking, the people who say this deal is probably going to go through are the ones who are saying, as much as she wants to sort of shout from the mountaintops how evil this might be, she doesn't have a legal leg to stand on. Like, what is her actual complaint? Like, I mean, I'm not a smart guy when it comes to this stuff, but I'm smart enough to go, oh, the FTC doesn't like it because it hits this particular law.
All right, let me ask you another question that's pertinent since we brought up the company earlier. So why do you think NVIDIA purchased for $40 billion for ARM was blocked by the CMA?
Say it again. I didn't hear what you said. Why do I think what was blocked?
NVIDIA, I think a year and a half ago, NVIDIA was poised to buy ARM, which is the second largest, I believe, mobile processor fabricator in the world. They were going to buy them. The CMA blocked. The FTC allowed it because at the time, I believe it was the Trump administration. Okay. So it just passed. They're like, oh, whatever. But CMA cold turkey stopped it.
Okay, I have no idea. So why you tell me?
Market share.
Okay.
NVIDIA has no competitor. So
okay, so what you're saying is the FTC. The
whole entire point. Yes.
The FTC has basically gone on record, and they're saying our issue with this is, even though right now Sony is in the first place and Xbox is in the last place, that's
only in console. I literally said earlier that cloud.
As it relates to buying Activision and the games, they're not talking about going and buying Amazon, so suddenly the Amazon server farm becomes part of their server farm. They're talking about software.
All right,
No, wait. And if you look at what, I forget which company or what regulatory body it was that said this, there were, I forget the exact legal language, but there were two kinds of ways that this could get resolved. One was kind of like a legal resolve, which is sort of, which is what Microsoft just did with Nintendo and what they've said they want to do with Sony. The other is the FTC saying, well, how about you divest Call of Duty from the deal? Or how about you know, whatever. Well, they're clearly talking about not servers and not cloud. They're talking about this particular software we feel is going to give you an advantage in games. They're not talking servers.
It gives you an advantage in cloud.
In cloud as it relates to streaming video games, not in cloud as it relates to storing spreadsheets and movie files.
Correct. But the technology, in terms of the servers, I work in IT. So like we use AWS. So
which is Amazon's server farm, correct?
Right. So and Microsoft has something similar. They use Azure and they have Blade servers for like Xbox stuff and all that crap.
Right.
So no, what their main point is basically if they own, that's why they want them to divest. Basically, the behavioral remedy they want is them to divest COD, because COD is such an endemic IP to the overall gaming sphere. It would be really shitty. Like let's say tomorrow Amazon does want to like try again through a different means, either through a browser or whatever the hell they're going to do it, to do a gaming cloud service. Well, you got to have games. That's Stadia's issue. So like, what are they going to do? Like, is Microsoft going to make a deal like, hey, put our Game Pass / Microsoft app in your shit, and that's going to be the only way you're going to access our stuff? That's what they mean by a monopoly. It's like basically, well, and that's why NVIDIA changed their tune, because Microsoft's like, oh, for GeForce Now, we'll put all of Blizzard's backlog. We'll put all of Call of Duty.
But yeah, and that's what they're asking Sony and Nintendo to do, because the difference is,
no, they're not.
Yes, they are. GeForce Now is a streaming service, but GeForce Now, you still have to have purchased the game. There's no subscription service on GeForce Now that gives you these games. If you have the Game Pass subscription and you have G4 Now, quite probably, but it's not Game Pass for the PC. You're subscribing monthly to the subscription's ability, not the actual games.
They do have a subscription, but that's beside the point. My main thing is, like, let's say they make a deal. Let's say Microsoft is the publisher. Let's say they get Call of Duty, right, and all the Activision IPs.
Yeah.
So they would do a license agreement. So GeForce Now, whatever the hell they call it, can have those, because they do have a
I got it. Yep. Well, they can have them. They're not free. You still have to pay for them.
No, do a license deal. Microsoft's thing is all about their cloud infrastructure and control of those to reach other people via different.
I understand, but what I'm saying, you're not. I just want to be clear. You're not suggesting the NVIDIA deal that was just announced or the Nintendo deal says that the Activision games and Call of Duty and all that is going to be available, quote, for free on a subscription service. They're not. That was never anywhere in the news.
No.
Right. So it's ultimately what they're saying to Sony as well. We don't want to take Call of Duty off your platform. We'll make a deal with you. We'll put it on there for 10 years. We're not lying. We're not trying to fuck you. But, you know,
what happens after 10 years?
Well, I mean, okay, let's assume it's 20 years. I really don't think Microsoft would care. But ultimately, doesn't there come a point where you're like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, man. It's one fucking game. It's one fucking game. It makes a lot of money, but it doesn't. The world doesn't turn on it. And Sony
I don't disagree, but here's the thing. Like, when you look at the stats of like the sales and everything, and how impactful it is to overall gaming, not just Sony's gaming, overall, it's like 80% on their platform. Now, granted, I do agree with you. I think Sony's gone too hard on Call of Duty in terms of like their reliance on it. Same thing with like GTA 5, whatever. But the issue is going to be that if we were to look at the other spectrum of the story of subscription services, you look at Netflix. Where is Netflix recently in the past 5 years? Have they bought a giant movie studio to gain all their IPs? And
Well, I guess one could say they've made a deal with Sony for their movies, but yeah, they have not gone out and purchased a library of films.
That's the equivalent of Sony doing a marketing deal. It's a licensing deal where they get it first.
But so what? Where is it written in the law that there's only one way to skin a cat, and the way that Microsoft wants to do it is wrong? It's not illegal. If you want to make it illegal, make it illegal.
I know, but it's not, and then we're going into the political part of it. The political part is definitely on the FTC side, but at the same time, for the past 20, 30 years, we've allowed giant companies to just swallow up other fairly large companies. Like right now, I don't remember the name of the company that owns like all those different food brands, like Nabisco. It's all one company that owns.
It's Monsanto or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but like that's the issue. And I think now that unfortunately you have like the Biden administration, they're kind of pushing this because, well, it does stifle smaller companies to be able to try to like make something come up and maybe like, have a foothold.
It's just such horseshit. That's utter horseshit, because I would agree with you. It's horseshit. Here's why it's horseshit. If you were talking about a mom and pop store that was trying to sort of like, if you were talking about Tommy Tallarico's Amico, and all the shit that Amico has had has just been because all these big companies have been muscling him out, and the little guy with the cool new idea can't get a foothold, I would agree with you. But number one, you're talking about one of the biggest companies in the world, which is Sony. They're not Tencent, but they ain't. I didn't say they were. I did not say they were. Don't get lost in the tracks with semantics. I didn't say they were the biggest company, and I made it clear they weren't Tencent, they weren't Amazon. But if you're to take the top, 1,000 companies in the world, I'm sure Sony would have enough cash to sort of be in the running for that. So you're not talking about a small little company, first off, but more importantly, regardless, if you're really saying the issue is they want to protect competition and they think Call of Duty in the hands of Microsoft is a problem, well, then why isn't Call of Duty in the hands of Activision a problem? Why isn't EA going to the FTC and saying, wait a second, we can't get a foothold with Battlefield? Why isn't Sony going to the FTC and saying, wait a minute, we've tried Killzone, we've tried Resistance. They own that space. We can't fucking live in that space. I mean, you can't really. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Can you kind of like going off? What can you rewind your point?
My point is that you're trying to paint this picture of the reason the FTC is against it is because it's the little guy being pushed aside by big business. And I get that. And I think most people with a fucking heart would agree with you. But that doesn't square with the Sony, Xbox, Nintendo video game relationship.
What would be your two cents take on if, let's say tomorrow, Nintendo buys
Epic Games?
Financially, but yeah, they buy Epic Games, therefore Fortnite. Is what would, and that is a game that's on everything.
Okay, and what happens?
What do you think? Do you think the FTC / the CMA should block that?
No, I do not.
You do not think because of Fortnite's hold on the gaming industry?
No, I do not. Because what you're basically doing is you're taking individual creative product and you're infusing them with this kind of superpower that says once you get successful enough with one product or one narrative, like Star Wars movies, I mean, where does it end? That suddenly then it's hands off. I think when you're talking about, hey, these guys have 60% of the server farms, and if they buy this company, they're going to have 80%. I think mathematically it makes sense. That's a monopoly. We don't want that. I'm with you 1,000% on that.
That's what I said earlier. That's exactly what I said earlier.
Yes, but that I understand the math of that. I don't understand how so I understand when you say, "Oh, we're going to go buy we're going to go buy the Amazon server farms." I get it. You can look at the numbers. I don't get it when it comes to saying, here's this one game that generates a lot.
One game. It's King, it's Blizzard, it's WoW, it's COD, all under one roof, all being used to push your cloud gaming initiative. What other company is going to be able to, first of all, have anything close to that in terms of its reach worldwide across mobile and tablets and laptops? What other IP is there, or a slew of publisher IPs that are that large across all countries?
There are probably
That's
some,
what we're
but
talking
it's okay. Well, wait a minute.
There's not.
Well, there are some that you could argue have that reach. Like if you're looking in, but let's assume it's irrelevant. It's relevant. Let's assume it's one of the top three.
Entirely talking point.
No. Wait. I'm not saying that point is irrelevant. I'm saying, are there any other companies? Whether there are or not is debatable. That's irrelevant. But let's assume that this company fits that definition of what you're saying. In which case, I would say, then why isn't the FTC? Why are they so focused on Call of Duty? Then why don't they say it's not just Call of Duty, fellas? It's Call of Duty. It's World of Warcraft. It's Hearthstone. It's Candy Crush. It's all of these things together. And then you could at least you could start to look at it and say, okay, maybe, I don't know if I agree, because I don't know, you could also argue, well, Xbox, Sony has the best games right now when it comes to cinematic third-person action adventure games. Why don't we get any of those? Why do they get to keep? But that said, though, that's not what the FTC is saying anyway.
Yeah, well, you keep circling on the FTC. Right now, the CMA is really, the CMA and the EU are really the big ones that actually are bringing up in the document the larger talking points. Call of Duty is like it's one of the big talking points because it has two products that come out every year.
Yeah,
Warzone and then the actual the game itself that you pay for. So you've got those two things that just make almost they made almost $1 billion in its first couple days.
Yeah, so what?
So,
a lot of games do that.
Well, when you look at overall revenue generated every single year, and you see the number one is this game every single year. I think that's why they probably were used as a talking point. But one of the things that they keep bringing up in the CMA and the EU is just that they think that they don't mind if Microsoft buys King/Blizzard, but you can have these, you cannot have all of them. That's why they want to divest.
Okay, but wait a minute. Isn't it ironic, don't you think, that they're not saying just pick one, guys, divest King, divest Blizzard. They're not saying that. They're saying Call of Duty, right? Which makes me think they are.
Go on Reset Era and read the document.
I can't go to. I don't want to go to Reset Era, but if you want to send me. But what I can tell you is when I saw what we were just talking about, the choice they were given, didn't one of the commissions say, "Hey, if you guys divest of Call of Duty, that's a possibility of us letting the deal go through." They didn't mention King. They didn't mention Blizzard. They mentioned specifically They didn't even mention Crash. They mentioned Call of Duty.
Right, and they are willing to have King. I think they'll do King. They actually could said that. Actually, one of the things.
I know, but what I'm asking you though is why would Call of Duty be singled out and not another choice? That's why I think this feels so weird and political and not really what they're saying is the truth.
I think it goes by market cap of what it generates. And Call of Duty is
I think
one.
Candy Crush probably generates more than Call of Duty. You don't think?
I don't consecutively no. I mean, you're going to tell me that Candy Crush is something like Fortnite is going to have its ups and downs depending on whatever year what they pump out.
All right. Well, I'm going to get to some more calls. I will tell you that. Here's what I'll tell you. You've educated me on. If you're saying the issue is that these bodies have is not related to an individual game. It's related to buying a company that has 4 or 5 Goliaths of games and putting those under the umbrella for a company that, even though they've made concessions and they've signed legal documents saying we won't make them exclusive, then I can at least say, okay, that starts to make a little bit more sense. But I haven't seen what you're talking about. I have seen.
It's the same stuff. Out of UK. Actually, it's supposed to be by the end of today. We should be seeing. I don't mean to keep you. At the end of today, probably by tomorrow, they'll have some of the excerpts from the court, and that's all CMA stuff. And that's
some of that's already been coming out today from a number of reportings who were there.
So PR stuff. That's not the stuff that they're legally.
All right.
They can't.
Well, yeah. When if that becomes the issue, then even though I don't know if I agree or disagree with it, I can at least understand a lot more. But that's not, at least the way it's been reported and from what I've seen, they're basically saying Call of Duty is the sticky widget. And it's like, that doesn't sit well with me.
That's only the FTC, though. That's not the CMA and the EU. The EU are actually actually sound way smarter than the FTC. The FTC, I will agree with you, is like it's just politically charged on their side. But
do you
CMA
think
EU,
I think what the FTC should just say to the European Union then is, look, if it wasn't, the first Call of Duty was set in World War II. If it wasn't for America, you guys would have lost World War II. You'd be goose stepping down the goddamn road to the Eiffel Tower. So back the fuck up, shut the fuck up, and we're putting Call of Duty under Xbox. All right, buddy. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Instant Messenger, Sama, thank you for the super chat. He says, remember when Xbox bought Rare and did nothing with all the great IPs? I don't believe Microsoft will change when it comes to treating IPs right. You could be correct. I've said over and over and over that Microsoft has terrible production development management. They're awful. They have a lot of great shit going for them, including Phil Spencer's leadership. But when it comes to running product development, I think they are just poo-poo productions. They're terrible. So you may be right. But again, there's nothing legally written that says, oh, hey, if you're going to buy this company, we need to kind of make sure you know the best way to make video games. But yeah, you're not wrong. Liquid Data says, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, what's the benefit for gamers if Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard? Well, okay. I mean, I think here's the reason. Here's the reason I want the deal to go through. And your mileage, of course, will vary. But here's the reason I would like to see this deal go through. I'm just checking. I don't want to miss any super chats. If I missed yours, let me know. And I'll get Combat Carl's in a second. The reason I want to see this deal go through is because I think subscription gaming is good for the art form. Okay. I just simply do. I think the more successful something like Game Pass becomes, and the more Sony, I don't know what the reason Sony decided, probably it was marketing for PSVR 2, to suddenly less than a year from launch put Horizon Forbidden West on the goddamn PS Plus. I'm glad they did it. It's good for that service. I'm glad they put Stray on there. I love video games. I understand a lot of you guys who watch this show only love AAA video games, and that's great. Go with God. Do with what you got to do with that. But I love games up and down the budgetary spectrum. If it's a good game, it's a good game. That's all that matters to me. And the ability for developers to be paid to push the art form and try things, whether it's something like Pentiment, whether it's something like Hi-Fi Rush, whether it's something like Stray, that is what we have seen in television. Why do you think The Last of Us is so good? Obviously, you can point to the creators and all that stuff, but it's also because HBO knows if they want to compete with Netflix and they want to compete with Disney Plus and they want to compete with Amazon, they have got to fucking fight like motherfuckers to get your allegiance and your eyeballs. The minute you are able to get interesting, different concepts that would have never been greenlit for a $60 retail product, or now these days a $70 retail product, is the minute that the art form is able to be free of the shackles of, we have to pad this shit. Sometimes a game is long. That's great. But a lot of times games are padded to make up for the $60, $70 price point because they know the better game is a 7-hour game, but they have to pad it to make it a 30-hour game just to justify the fucking price point. So I think the sooner subscription services become as ubiquitous in games as they are in film and television, the art form is better. That's why I want it. And as for why is it's good for gamers that aren't thinking like that, because you pay $15 and you get these awesome fucking games. If you like to collect, go collect. If you like to own, go own. Most people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They just want to be entertained with the least money spent and the least trouble spent to get involved with the entertainment. That's why I think it's good for gamers. Combat Carl, thank you for being a member, buddy. You know I appreciate it. He says, hey, let Xbox buy Call of Duty. It's the shooter box anyway. It is. Trust me, you goddamn right. Sony wishes they had a shooter. And that's the funniest part. And I'm not saying Sony's not trying to do this. You know they are. But, I mean, there's so much fucking talent, technical talent, creative talent, marketing talent at Sony. You know, step back up to the fucking plate. They're not going to be able to create. I mean, I guess they could because it just wouldn't be on Xbox, but it would be on PC. You know, it would be on the PlayStation consoles. It could be on phone. These guys can create a very viable, profitable shooter. Apex Legends does it. Fortnite did it. PUBG did it. Let them, you know, let Call of Duty be Call of Duty. It's not going anywhere on the PlayStation, but fuck. I'd love to see, and I'm sure they are. They're making 10 of these service games. One of them has to be a mainstream fucking shooter. It just simply fucking has to be. There's no way they didn't do it. Jaffe, what do you think about indie devs, says Owen. Do you think indie devs should increase their price since AAA games are or aim to be in a subscription service? I don't think, Owen, at the point you can really answer that yet. I think ultimately AA games and indie games have been huge beneficiaries of the subscription-based services. And I imagine that will continue because then you've got a lot of people saying, oh, it's going to hurt development because Microsoft pays by amount of time played. And suddenly that's going to be just think about it for a minute. That's going to be a bunch of games that are padded and grindy and all this shit to keep you playing, and it's not good for the art form. Well, then people will unsubscribe. That's the funny thing. It's not that, look, if Netflix could keep everybody subscribed just by Stranger Things, they would. But they have to also know there's a balance between that and the Wednesdays of the world and shows like Atypical or shows like the attempt at rebooting One Day at a Time. There are reasons that you stay subscribed to Netflix even after the big show that you've been waiting for, the two big shows, go away. So I think those indie games and AA games, I mean, look at Hi-Fi Rush. I think that's a AA game. I'm very happy with my $15 spent I played Atomic Heart today. I played a bunch of games on Game Pass this month. I'm happy with that. If it was only Halo, I'd be like, okay, I got it for a month and I moved on with my fucking life. Liquid Data says, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, I think Sony should bring back SOCOM. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't touch, I've said this before, I wouldn't touch SOCOM with a 10-foot pole. Not because it would be a bad game to bring back, but because all it can do is disappoint the hardcore, and you might as well make a new title because the SOCOM name, how many people is that really going to bring in the door compared to a very similar game that doesn't have the baggage of, no, SOCOM is, talk to SOCOM fans. They're like talking to Twisted Metal fans. SOCOM is 2 or 3 different things to 2 or 3 different fringe groups, or not fringe groups, but break-off groups of that franchise. You know, for Twisted Metal, it's like some people are like, it's all about the story and the characters. And other people, it's like, no, it's all about the multiplayer. Well, you know, it's hard to make everybody happy. You might as well just kind of start it, a new one. Shariku says subscription didn't bring whatsoever to Xbox for 3 years. How is, make sure I understand this comment, for 3 years. How is that better than what Sony did the last 2 years? I don't really understand if your thesis statement is subscription didn't bring anything to Xbox. Well, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean an audience? I agree that the Game Pass is in a great deal of trouble if they can't get their shit together when it comes to their AAA games that are their big tentpole games. Absolutely. But I don't think that is a criticism of Game Pass. That's a criticism of the management of product development that seems almost incapable of getting certain games out that are commercial big games. That's, you know, that's like saying that Peacock sucks. I don't think it does anymore. It's actually gotten a lot better. But let's say Paramount Plus sucks because the subscription service model. It's like, no, it sucks because it doesn't have as many good shows as HBO Max does. Okay, let me just check this here. Sorry about that. I'm going to go to the bottom of the comments. If you wanted me to touch on something, just pop it back up there. Or call on the phone, 619-752-0548. Okay. I'm not anti-Game Pass nor anti-Microsoft, just anti-conglomeration, says Ravnos. Okay. Kevin says Xbox is still the worst with managing AAA games. I've learned to have no expectations. Yeah. I agree. I don't know if I agree with Emmanuel, but let me get this call first. Hey, it's Jaffe. What's up? Hello? Okay, well, here's what Emmanuel says when we're waiting to see if this person's alive. Subscription bought a lot of mediocre games alive. Thanks, Game Pass. Like what? I mean, like what? I mean, are there bad games on Game Pass? I guess, sure. But there's lots of great fucking games on Game Pass. I mean, that's anything. That's like going into a bookstore and saying bookstores suck because there's some books in here that I don't like. It's like, well, yeah, but so doesn't mean the bookstore's at fault. So I've found lots of great fucking. I mean, but again, let me make sure, Emmanuel, we all are clear on this. There is a type of gamer out there that genuinely thinks, and I'm not saying they're bad people or they're idiots, but they genuinely think the only kind of games worth talking about or discussing or of any value are the AAA games. So these are the same kind of guys that say, if subscription services take over, you're not going to get as many $270 million God of War Ragnarok style titles. Now, I would say two things. One is you're not going to get as many. You're right. You're still going to get some because those services are still going to need those big anchors like a Last of Us TV show or like a Stranger Things season 4 and 5 to really build up a lot of crazy excitement. So you're still going to get some, but you're right. You're not going to get as many. For those gamers that the main reason they game is visual fidelity and production effects and watching the bleeding edge next gen visuals on their big, 8K TV, I think you're absolutely right. If subscription services take over, that is going to be a little less or maybe even meaningfully less prominent. And I respect that. If that's why you game, that is going to suck for you. But A, that's getting more and more expensive and less sustainable to create and make your money back anyway. And B, I don't think that's where the heart and soul of the medium is. It simply isn't, in my opinion. Somebody left a voice message. Let's see if this plays. Let's see.
How you doing? Thank you. Hello?
Are you there? No, this is a voice message. He's leaving a message.
Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. You call back, buddy. Call back. I can. There you go. Hello. This Skype thing is such a pain in the ass. All right, the phone lines are open now. I got it working. Give me a shout if you want. 619-752-0548. Unless you have stock in Sony, says Brett Moore, why argue against Game Pass as a gamer? It's a great deal. Why the tribalism? Well, yeah, you basically have to assume, like if you stripped away, I'm not talking FTC at this point, if you stripped away gamers' tribalism from this topic, it's hard to understand why they would be opposed to it. I mean, unless they are like the gamer I just described, which is any foothold subscription-based gaming gets is going to absolutely fuck even 1% of the AAA quality that I like, and I don't like that. Okay, I don't agree with you at all in terms of what you value about games, but I certainly respect that take 100%. Fupy says, I think Game Pass has a lot of trash and I don't play AAA only. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm not going to debate with you. I mean, ultimately they have what they have and you either enjoy it or you don't. And I think, one man's trash, another man's treasure, but I have found gems all the time on that service. What's up? It's Jaffe. Yeah, I can't.
Hello?
Yeah. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up, man?
Is it working?
It's working good.
Hey, how's it going, Jeff?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I think, are you listening to me on your computer or something? Because there's a delay, I think, is what's happening.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at, through the phone. I got multiple phones and I'm looking at it through the phone.
Yeah, that's probably the problem. But what's going on? What do you want to talk about? We'll see if we can make it work.
Okay, yeah. What we're talking about right now, I guess, the problems with like Game Pass, you know what I'm saying? Like Microsoft buying out, Activision and this and that.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to say real quick, you're fucking badass, dude. So I appreciate you and all your work.
That is a nice thing to say. Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
So yeah, so now, man, I mean, I grew up on your games, and that's one of the major things that I think that are, gamers aren't gamers anymore, man. Like, people don't want to play games, like,
I mean, they might, maybe,
last...
maybe a lot of it is they're just, it's the vocal minority. I mean, I think there's lots of games out there that people are enjoying, but certainly though, if you look at online as a reflection of the discourse, it's, I mean, think about that, it's a cliche, it's a meme, but it's not untrue. The idea that there are people that their favorite game is debating and arguing about games on the internet. It's like, they're not actually playing games.
Yeah, they're not actually. Exactly. Yo, I can't believe you said that. Yeah, man. There's so many, like, there is gamers, right? Like, our gamers, like, we're still out there. But, dude, there's this large amount of people that, like, literally play games by just watching YouTube or, like, word of mouth. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And, like,
I do. And that's great for them. But, I can't relate to them. But I'm sure they've got their fans and they've got things they love.
I know, man, and I just wish, companies would just, make games like back in the days, like, just throw out a game, put a game out there with, like, it was just fun to play, you know what I mean? Like, the mechanics. First off, video game mechanics.
I hear you, but to be perfectly fair, and that's the thing, is that is happening. We are in a very rich, wonderful time of great games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of it, you have to go to AAA, you have to go to AA, you have to go to indie. But
you gotta go to indie.
But I mean, again, if you're there for the gameplay, it shouldn't matter. But I mean, some people just they don't want that, and that's totally cool. But that's not me, man. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, if these companies were just, because it's an indie game, but imagine if it like if it had the production, the money, and the backup. That indie game can be I don't know. I don't want to call it a AAA game, but a big game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder. Tell me how much of it do you think? I mean, I'm just pulling this out of my butthole. I don't know. I don't have any facts here. Just a thought. How much of it do you think is sort of gamer insecurity? Like, there's a sense of I need my games I play so I can look cool to look really fucking cool. Because I'll give you an example. There was a game I played on Indie Steam Next Fest a couple weeks ago called like Robo Slam or something. I don't know what it was called. It was something like that. And it was visually abstract as fuck, but it was the most fun NBA Jam style game I have played since NBA Jam. And nobody gave it a fucking thought. If I were to bring it up right now on the stream, I'd have the chat just like, dude, that's indie fucking crap. But it's a fucking blast to play. Do you think there's an insecurity there amongst these gamers? Like, it just, to them, it's like, it has to look good or I feel insecure? Or do you think I'm reaching with that?
Yeah, no. You're not reaching at all. Like, inclusion is a hell of a drug. You feel me?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, that's a great point.
They're gonna use anything to, like, people are gonna do that in general, right? Like, anything to, like, elevate their status. You feel me?
I do. So I hate that. I wish they'd get over that. Grow up a little bit,
Yeah. So you're gonna have a majority of that. You know what I mean? Like, especially when it comes down to the mainstream, right? It's the mainstream that is killing us. Like, businesses are too focused on profits, and they forget about the communities that built them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think businesses live or die by our choices. So I think people who run corporations can be evil as fuck when they do things, 100%. But I also think that when they do something the audience doesn't like,
blame ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I blame ourselves as well, man. I always go back to Call of Duty 4 whenever they dropped those map packs and they started charging, because back then map packs cost $4.
Oh, okay.
Call of Duty out of nowhere was charging $14.99. And I was telling people, I'm like, hey, look, man, like, let's buy it, but I promise you on everything, companies are going to see this, and they're going to see, like, hey, people aren't minding paying $15. and then starts the norm. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
Push it a little further.
Yep.
Something else comes out, and then people are like, "Oh, well, the fuck it, right?" Like, I'm sorry about that. They're gonna be like, "Okay," and then it pushes on even further.
Yeah.
So it's
So it's absolutely our fault, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. And to the credit of people who say they don't like Game Pass, clearly they're not buying it, which is great. But I think it's awesome. All right, man. Thanks for calling. I appreciate your perspective.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. All right. So yeah, I don't know if you can see. I think you can see on the screen. I don't know why it's not showing up on my Elgato, but if you can see these games on the screen, you know, here's the fucking Game Pass games of just recently added. I played Atomic Heart today. It's good. It's like a 7 or 8 out of 10. I didn't like this, but I love the other ones. This is a great game. Great game. I don't really know about football. This is a fun game. Hot Wheels, one of the best games last year. Hi-Fi Rush is brilliant. I mean, to look at this list and say this is a lot of trash, like Saber Zero is saying, totally fine. If that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, seriously, I don't know what to tell you. If you guys are not trolling, we just have to agree to disagree. You know, to say that Hot Wheels is trash, to say that Cities Skylines is trash, Age of Empires, Hi-Fi Rush, and these are just ones that you can only get. I'm not pointing out, obviously, you know, Persona. Yeah, right, Wayne B. But I mean, this is just here. I'll show you, what do I have on Game Pass right now? Let's see what my Game Pass, I don't know how to find these. Show my games, maybe? I don't fucking... Here it is. Let me get this call real quick. Hang on, caller. One sec. Why does it always do that? Hang on. Skype? Come on. People are like, oh, Skype's Microsoft. Well, look, I'm not saying Microsoft's the world's best company. Their management's terrible. I never said anything other than that. I'm not talking about that, God damn it. All right, phone's back up and working. Yes, I said Age of Empires. I absolutely said Age of Empires because it's a great fucking game. I'm not saying it's a game that, you know, let's forget arguing for a second. Let's talk about this. Hey, it's Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, so just to go off your second question with Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I have some data, but obviously it doesn't encompass the entire gaming sphere. But I will say, I think what your question is, why people maybe have a little trepidation towards Game Pass or like the insecurity that you're talking about, is primarily the data suggests that it's out there. Like last week for Japan, the number one game, what's surprising to me, was Hogwarts.
Was Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Yeah, and that game has taken everything by storm. It's like it beat Elden Ring in terms of physical sales already.
Yeah.
And I look at like the AAA space, and it really is hit or miss in terms of like the impact that game has. Hi-Fi Rush, high quality game, well made, came out, was great for what it is. But there's not a lot of that games with that like quality control caliber. And like Steam, my issue with Steam is why I don't know about you, but like, what do
you mean by quality control caliber? How do you define that?
Well, Steam, Valve recently has made some changes to their store in terms of like some of the stuff that they filter out. Like, you know, there was a lot of like gotcha games, a lot of like
you were talking about Game Pass doesn't have the same kind of quality control as Hi-Fi Rush on the whole, and that's what I'm saying. How do you define that?
No, in double A space, like Hi-Fi Rush is a really well made game. Like it is surprisingly like super optimized. Everything is it's like locked 60. You know what I mean? The controls feel good. There's not a lot of weird like glitches or any weird like shit going on with the game.
Sorry. Wait. Let me turn this down. God damn. I'm sorry, fellas. Hang on. God damn. What the fuck? That's my fault. Hang on. Oh, shit. Okay, my bad. All right, keep going.
All right, sorry. So like another AA that's on your screen right now, like Maneater, that came out like a couple years ago. Really cool, fun game, but it's obviously, to me, I wouldn't, in terms of the caliber of the game, it is not as fine-tuned as Hi-Fi Rush is.
Yeah, sure. But have you, like, look at on my screen right now, I have Proteus, right? Have you played Proteus?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, so I guarantee you when I put this up, people are going to say, this is crap. But this is one of the best shooters that has come out in the last 3 or 4 years. And, you know, there's really nothing I can do to convince you if you don't want to play something that doesn't look. And again, I mean, that's not a bad thing. There are gamers that only want fucking, you know, the big graphic extravaganzas.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, you look at the indie market is so flooded. It is so, like, there's, like you said yourself, there's tons of stuff to play. The problem is, I think for the past, like, gen, it's been so flooded with, like, a lot of stuff that's similar. Like, you look, there's so many top-down games, there's so many side-scroller games, pixel art stuff, and the ones that you want to stick out that are, like, the top tier are the Hollow Knights and stuff like that. You know, like the Tunics and Death's Door. You know, those are the ones that you really want to stand out, because those are, in terms of indie, I would say the topper echelon of just presentation, just bugs, just fun factor. Like, this game looks great, but there's, like, it's also, I guarantee there's probably quite a few you could find on Steam that are in that similar category.
There are, but you can find, but you can find tons of, you know, you think most indie games, most AAA games are pretty much the same fucking thing you've been playing for the last 10 years with a fresh coat of paint.
You could say that, but there's definitely some kind of a hook. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's why I think Sony has gone so hard for the most part on the controller, because, you know, for the look at the past couple of years, a lot of their games do, for the most part, they're all like third person. They all have a little bit of formula to them, but there's enough with the controller that they can do and the way the games control that they can, like, make it different. My issue with indie games, not just Game Pass, just indie games in general, between the regular, like, smaller and then AA games, there's not enough of, like, the Hi-Fi Rushes. Hi-Fi Rush, because of its unique art style and the rhythm-based music aspect, really sticks out.
Okay, so how much do you play Game Pass?
I had it for like 6 months and I dropped it because it was during a time where they didn't have a lot of good shit out. So
okay, so I mean, I mean, again, it's weird to hear you say, or anybody who considers himself a gamer. I mean, Chained Echoes, yes, it's an old looking game. I mean, if the only thing, again, I'm not insulting people, but if the only thing you want has to look third person, amazing blazing visuals, then your point has been made 1,000 times. I agree with you. But if you can't look at the games on Game Pass and go, Chained Echoes is awesome. Obviously the Doom's awesome. Forza's awesome.
Here's the difference between you and the average gamer. So me, I'm IT. I'm the guy that called a while earlier with the CMA stuff we were talking about stuff. So for me, I don't have a ton of time for games. Like right now, I literally have been playing 2 games for the past like month. I've been playing Halo Infinite just because it's like I get online with my Discord, my friends, and we just kind of veg out and just play. And then I'll play today I started up Legend Dragoon on PSN, but I'm just not playing a lot because I don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
So Game Pass is great for people like you that you're a concept guy, like you love interesting, like new stuff. You like to be constantly playing something different.
Yeah, I love the medium, and I love seeing new takes and fresh ideas, and I love you are in the minority though with that, sure.
that type of like of
well, I'm the minority, but you're not the majority either though. You have to understand that. The majority,
I would say Hogwarts Legacy would prove me right.
I think what would prove you wrong would be Fortnite, Candy Crush, Madden, Call of Duty.
Those are all free to play games. We're talking about just a game that you either get.
Yeah, but we're talking about majority. If we're talking about majority, the majority of people who engage in video games are not the people that are sitting around playing Hogwarts. So they're the people sitting around playing Candy Crush, and playing back in the day Angry Birds or what have you.
Okay, but we're talking about a game service that has games that don't have Candy Crush on them. We're talking about a hardcore game service. That's what Game Pass is.
Yeah, well, okay, that's different though. There's no doubt that if you want to define a hardcore gamer as someone that cares very much about then Game Pass is for hardcore gamers. But if you want to define
my point is if that like there are hardcore gamers that like they spend a lot of money, they have different stuff that they play. My point is there would be like Microsoft would be talking to the sun about all the new signups of Game Pass subs that they have. The problem is they don't have that it game or consistency of it games that drive people to their platform to play. And I'm saying
I don't disagree with that at all. I think if it turns out that the only way that Game Pass can become really successful at the level Microsoft needs it and wants it to be is if they start attracting people who only want to play the next big AAA shit and nothing else. I don't think Game Pass as it stands has a chance in hell. My hope.
But that like blew the internet off.
But it's great. But Hi-Fi Rush though is still not the kind of game. If you would have put Hi-Fi Rush in a box and sold it for $60, it would have tanked. Right,
but it was $30, it's enough of a zeitgeist to get people to attract people to your platform. That's what they need.
Yeah, sure. So if what you're saying is a $30 game that doesn't have to have, Vampire Survivors is another one. If you're saying that hardcore gamers are willing to go and play down in terms of play at a lower level of visual fidelity and kind of quality of mainstream, then I think Game Pass can be huge. But it sounded like you were saying that a lot of people don't have a lot of time to game, so they only want to play the big AAA stuff that they see on TV during the Super Bowl.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like they're going to play. They want to like when you go.
Wait, I'm gonna let you go, buddy. You've already called in once. We talked for a while. Call back later. I'll see you, man. Thank you, sir. I get his point. But it's a good point. The good point is that if Game Pass exists and they're making an assumption, like I wonder what they sit around when they put out something like Vampire Survivors or Hi-Fi Rush or Chained Echoes. I wonder if they go, we're never going to get the soccer moms for the most part. And we know there's a group of hardcore gamers that want nothing to do with this kind of stuff because they think it's like, oh, it's crap. I wonder if they really look at the market and say there are enough people that just love games and don't really care if it's the next big sexy visual fest and it's more about just what's fun. I want to believe that that's most of us. But the more I sit on the internet, the more I start to realize maybe not so much. No, Stray is not for hardcore gamers. I mean, it can be. Again, it goes back to your definition of hardcore. Is hardcore someone, like, to me, a hardcore film fan is not someone who just watches Marvel. It's somebody who can watch Marvel and love Marvel and then go to the indie theater and watch, what's that guy's name? He made that movie 8th Grade, Bo Burnham, right? Or then they can watch, some weird Amazon movie that's experimental and shit. That's a hardcore film fan. To me, I consider myself a hardcore game fan, but a lot of hardcore game fans would tell you that I'm not. And they are, because they have the big TVs, the sound system. They only want to play the AAA shit. I guess it just kind of depends on sort of what your definition of that. Ant the Gamer says hardcore gamers to me is someone who plays all games types and tries to play as complete. I don't complete shit, but I agree with the other part. Yeah. If you don't care about graphics as McCoy, why are you buying next-gen consoles? Why aren't we still playing on the N64? Well, you said you and then we. I care about new games, and the new games are on the next-gen consoles, but they're also on Steam. They're also on my phone. So, I got crap on my nose. I don't know. It's not blood. What do I have? I don't have anything on my nose. Where? Oh, you're fucking with me. Do I? Oh, well, whatever. Oh, this is ink. This is, that's this. I'm playing football today. See, I'm really not. It's just pencil. Yeah, a hardcore gamer is anyone listening to this stream. That's true. That's true. I like the Game OK streams, but people, it went away. Jaffe, most of these people are younger gamers, says Prince, who grew up in the last decade after 2010. Most of these people grew up with PS4 playing AAA Sony games. Oh, I get it. I get it. Gravity, I agree. He says, I think it's sad how people limit their taste to only certain genres. Yeah, I mean, if you are curious, I have a video on this very channel from a few days ago about the best games I played at Steam's Next Fest. And they are all indie for the most part. And if you're kind of like one of those people that doesn't like, not $200 million bangers, you're not going to like it. But if you're like, hey, what is this guy talking about? I'm curious about some of these games he thinks are so great. Go watch that video. It's timestamps. You can just jump around. It's fresh shit, man. It's good to play some new stuff, man. What's up? It's Jaffe.
Well, I agree. Indie games are good.
Yeah. So what's going on? What do you want to talk about?
So regarding like the whole AA indie game scene discussion and everything, if people really want to indulge in AA games and just like find some of the best ones out there,
yeah,
I would recommend looking up anything released by a company called Falcom.
Falcom?
Yep, Falcom.
What kind of games do they put out?
Well, for the longest time, back when I was growing up and I had a Super Nintendo, I played this game on there called Ys.
Oh, yeah, of course. I know that game.
Yeah. That's been around actually for a very long time, though. Back then, during the Super Nintendo, I don't know if you would. I mean, stuff like AA and AAA didn't exist at the time.
Right.
But it's evolved into a AA game, and it's something that I've always enjoyed. I've played pretty much basically all of them. And they're super enjoyable. In fact, in terms of like action JRPGs, I mean, I like it more than Final Fantasy. And I know that might sound
no, a lot of people are really into it. You pronounce it Ys, right?
Yeah. Ys. It's like YS.
Yeah, a lot of people love those games. I know a lot of people who are huge fans of those games.
Yeah, and then also what they make another AA game called Trails of Cold Steel. That's a turn-based JRPG. Like when it comes to like AA games, like they're really good. Maneater's good. Hi-Fi Rush is good.
And doesn't it? Go ahead. People who what?
I think when you knock AA games and knock indie games, and you're like, well, if it's not running on like Unreal Engine 4 or like Frostbite or like some kind of high fidelity engine, and it doesn't like blow my mind, and it doesn't take advantage of like my Dolby Atmos and whatever the heck, like, dude, it's like sometimes I think people need to step back and like realize like their grassroots of like how they grew up gaming. Maybe a lot of people are like born in high definition gamers, so maybe they don't have that experience.
You know what here's what I wish. I don't begrudge, if that's the right term. I don't mind people can like what they want and they have my support in that. If they're just like, look, man, that's what I like, then I absolutely respect that. What I wish though, and maybe this is just my own personal ego, which I'm sure it is, I wish that the people like you and me and similar folks who are like nobody would go only to Marvel movies and Transformer movies and say that they're the hardcore film lovers. Nobody would only watch ABC sitcoms like Man of the House and say they're the real aficionados of long-form linear storytelling. But in games, you've got these loudmouth motherfuckers who only play AAA and who only care about games when they are bleeding visuals and amazing sound and all the production quality. And they are the ones that act as if they are the real arbiters of taste. And it's like, you guys are the people who go see Transformers only, in MCU only. And I love those movies. I'm not knocking them. But yeah, if you want to really see what is amazing and magical about this industry, you've got to play up and down the budgetary spectrum. And people just, you know, I hate that they have taken that high ground. And I know it's ego. I know it's childish to hate it, but it bugs me. The fact that you can call up here and talk about, I guess it's NIS America that I do know, but it's Falcom and Ease and all that. And probably 90% of people watching have no fucking idea what you're talking about. I think that's shitty.
Well, yeah, but I also think it just depends on, like, and I don't mean this to sound like really boomer, but I think it depends on, like, maybe like what generation of gaming you grew up on, because like when I was growing up, I didn't know what Yeez was really until I went over to my cousin's and he had a Super Nintendo and I watched him play this game. And I was like, what the heck is this side scroller thing? What's this dude in like all this different colored of armor? Why is he like running back and forth and he's just swinging his sword constantly? And the tunes were really cool. Like the music is actually what got me to pay attention to what he was playing. And of course he didn't know how to pronounce the name of the game. I didn't. Right, but all I remember is like looking at the box art, and it was, what was the name of the game? I'm trying to remember what Yeez it was. I think it was Yeez 3. And I remember looking at the box art, like the cartridge of the box art, whatever, and I see this dude like fighting a dragon and fighting a wizard at the same time, and I was like, oh, this is really cool.
I think it was Wanderers from Yeez, right? I remember seeing this box art too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap, this is really cool, because like it reminded me of like something from like 80s fantasy, like Conan the Barbarian,
yeah, absolutely,
Sanja, or like the sword and the sorcerer, things of that nature.
Yeah. I remember that shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you know what?
I thought that was really cool.
I think so too. I wonder about, you know, if you're talking about what people came up playing. You know, my kids are almost adults now, and their generation grew up not. I mean, yeah, they grew up with PS4s, but most of their friends were not playing PS4. They grew up playing everything from, you know, starting with Pet Society on Facebook, going to Minecraft and Fortnite and Among Us. I mean, that's what a lot of the kids play, and PC games on Steam. So I wonder, you know, in a few years when they start really dominating, making their own money and dominating sort of what gets made and what gets purchased. I wonder if that experience in, you know, what they grew up loving is going to change out of necessity the design. Are you going to have more social games? Because that's really, you know, a lot of their games were social. So I don't know, but they're the much bigger games than anything on PS4 was Fortnite, which was on PS4, but you know what I mean. All right, buddy. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. I want to get the super chat. This is from Geek Life Mike. Thank you, buddy. Very generous. He says, if I were Sony CEO, I would tell Microsoft to keep Call of Duty and all the Activision stuff because we don't want it. Take the loss and do our own thing. It's competition, then let it be that. Love the show piece. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, look, the one thing I've said since the very beginning, I think Jim Ryan, CEO of Sony, has made himself and by extension Sony PlayStation look like a bunch of little fucking bitches. But I wouldn't have done anything different. As long as he's not breaking the law, it is his job to give his customers the best deal that he can get. And the best deal that he can give PlayStation owners is not this deal. Because all that's going to happen is it's going to be like, yay, you got to keep Call of Duty. And it's actually, if Sony keeps Call of Duty and the deal goes through, it makes Sony look worse. Because then you go into a store to buy Call of Duty and it's like, hey, you want to play? Oh, yeah, I didn't have to pay anything. I got it, quote, for free. Mock that if you will, but that's how subscription services feel to a lot of people. That's one of the reasons they work so well, is people pay and put it on their credit card and forget about it. Not everybody. I'm not saying everybody can afford to be that privileged to have that life, but a lot of people, that's one of their psychological tricks of subscription services. When they get pushed up against their friend that got it, quote, for free, and they had to drop $70-$80 on it, it's going to make Sony look worse. But if I was Jim Ryan, I wouldn't do anything different. I mean, he's doing the exact right thing, including, I guess, you know, kind of making himself look like a total fucking, you know, loser. That's terrible to say, but you know what I'm saying. I feel like that my brother who's 16 is into Clash Clans, says Carlos. He doesn't care about AAA games that much. Right. I have a 17-year-old. Same thing. Same exact fucking thing. Yeah, Doug says those mainstream people can claim to be arbiters of taste considering their choices earn the most revenue globally. No, they don't. No, they don't. The Last of Us does not earn more. God of War does not earn more than Fortnite. It does not earn more. Probably, I don't know the numbers on Fall Guys, but no, you're simply wrong. Those games cost, and think about it, it's going to get worse. The more those games have to keep up with the visual and production fidelity, the harder it is for them to recoup. The games that make the most, my God, if you're a video game executive today, you don't fucking want the next God of War necessarily. You want the next fucking Fortnite. You want the next fucking Minecraft. You want the next fucking Among Us. Because they don't barely cost shit. And now Fortnite's huge to make. But back in the day, to launch something like that doesn't cost anything. PUBG? Come on. So no, the arbiters of taste ain't the people reading Kotaku or NeoGAF or whatever. Hey, it's Jaffe.
Oh, hey, Jaffe. I got through the show?
No, this is a recording. This has been being done with ChatGPT.
Yes, son of a bitch.
If you can leave a message, I will get back to Jaffe and see if he wants to talk to you.
I'd like to talk to him on the show. I don't have it up because it.
All right. What do you want to talk about? What's going
on? Yeah, I think you were talking about like the Game Pass stuff earlier with the AAA games versus the AA games.
Yes.
I think it's fucking obvious. Like Xbox is going for like not the Netflix of games model, the Disney Plus model.
Okay.
They want like brands. They got the Xbox brand. They got Bethesda. They want Activision. And that makes it just super easy to sell. The actual subscription, because you don't need to think about what's coming out next. You just know.
I would agree if their brands were really strong, but the biggest problem with Xbox or Game Pass is not Game Pass. It's they can't fill it with enough meaningful, exciting product.
Exactly.
But that's not a knock on Game Pass. That's a knock on Microsoft's production.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about publishers. I think because I don't think the AA strategy is going to push the numbers.
I think you're probably right. I think the AA strategy is going to create from time to time some zeitgeist standout moments, kind of like the guy was saying about Hi-Fi, and hopefully it will. Yeah, me too. And hopefully it will create enough interesting scenarios for gamers that they stick around in between the giant AAA months. But I think you're right. They need to have their anchors. And it's really, that's one of the reasons I love what they're trying to do. And people can say I'm a fanboy of Xbox and it's got nothing. I'm a fanboy of games. Think about this for a minute. If you look at they own 23 studios right now, and a handful of them, and this is before they get Activision, a handful of those studios are more than capable of working on 2 games at a time in terms of size and whatnot. If they can manage to fucking get out of their own fucking way, the cadence of AAA games that they could drop would be, ideally, if it was really well managed, you could be getting a big fucking banger every month, but certainly every 6 weeks.
Exactly the point I was.
And then you fill in the gaps with some really cool AAA, AA, and indie games and third-party exclusives. It'll be the goddamn greatest thing in the world. That's why I believe in it.
I'm actually, that's exactly what I was going to talk about, because I love like Pentiment and some of the other indie stuff, indie scale stuff they were doing. I grew up Catholic, and playing a game like Pentiment was like such a who the fuck made this game just for me moment. Like, wow, okay, good. I haven't played it. I haven't even played it yet, but I hear it's great. It's just a great story, but blah blah blah. It's not an every 6 months thing. I think the real killer for Microsoft in this plan is if they don't hit every other month. If they try for every single month, it's probably not going to work. That's too many balls in the air. Well, again, depends who's managing it. But when you've got that many teams, you should be able to make that work. But regardless, though, frequently enough, whatever that is will be decided, with boots on the ground of players going, 6 weeks is just right. Anything more is too long. And we start peeling off and subscribing to something else. But whatever the sweet spot is, though, they need to fill it. And then
they need to have the other kind of things to kind of keep you going when you're done with that game. I mean, I don't care if hell PlayStation could do it. I don't need Xbox to be the one to do it. They're just in the best position. The best thing for me would be that, all the PlayStation leadership that's wonderful at producing games goes over to goddamn Xbox and says, okay, you've got the fucking Ferrari, but we know how to drive it. Get the fuck out of the way now. And it's exactly the vision of Game Pass, which I think is brilliant.
I think the 2 games being produced in one studio idea,
yeah.
I hear a lot from the developers. Like I hear stuff from Double Fine working on 2 games or Ninja Theory working on 2 games.
Well, those are kind of small teams, though. I'm talking about
exactly.
If you get a team like, I mean, certainly Activision's capable of it, but I'm trying to think who they have that's bigger. Like Obsidian, I think, has worked on 2 games. There are teams that are set up as 2, or studios that are set up as 2-team studios. Naughty Dog is. Yeah, Insomniac, goddamn, Insomniac makes like 4 games at a time.
Oh yeah, and they're all big games.
They are.
I feel that Microsoft being flexible like that with a team like Ninja Theory or Double Fine, it's going to hurt them because they will produce 2 indie scale AA games over the course of 5 to 6 years instead of that one big game. Like instead of getting another Brutal Legend. Yeah,
that's right. I think it depends on the team, but yeah, if you're Microsoft and you have Double Fine and you don't put Double Fine in that category of these are the guys that make the really cool shit that could break out and have a really cool quirky hit, and or they fill in the gaps when we don't have the big games, you're wasting the brilliance of that company because they've never been good at making AAA games. That's not what they do. But they're not, I don't know how they're managing them now, but yes, Psychonauts 2, I know it was already in production, but I wouldn't give them another big game like that. They're better. I mean, remember when they were on the PS3 and every couple of months you'd see, Costume Quest and stacking and just shit that's weird and strange. That's enough for me from that company.
Yeah, I don't know. I like when they do the big stuff with all their teams or everyone at Double Fine's working on one game at a time. But
yeah, I mean, I would agree if Psychonauts 2 came out and it was awesome. I didn't particularly like it. I loved Tim Schafer as a human. I love his creative mind. I thought that game was kind of boring, but maybe that's just me.
I loved it.
Okay, well then there you go. That's great.
But to be fair, it didn't set the world on fire either. So
yeah, it happens.
Anyway,
all right. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you talking to me. Thanks, buddy. There's a guy, Brian, in the chat says people need to stop comparing free-to-play to single-player full-price games. There's no metric to even compare. Well, that's simply not true. No one's comparing it in the way of saying what we're comparing is time spent engaging with the software. And a player who's not really watching streams like this doesn't give a fuck how much it costs to make The Last of Us compared to how much it costs to make Among Us, or Jackbox Party or whatever it is. They're having fun with their friends. They're spending their time, which spends the same whatever they're playing. So yeah, of course, if you're talking about team size and budgets and return, all that, of course, you can't compare. But what you can compare when we were talking about that is that these are games that are affecting people's lives and affecting how they define the value of video games. And in that, I don't think the difference of a budget or of a genre is relevant at all. It's what, it's what you engage with, and sort of what was hot when you were kind of at that particular age. Okay. All right. You know what ChatGPT is going to be great at, by the way? It's going to be great at letting streamers like me know. It's like, that's 90% chance that comment is a troll. And so you probably shouldn't even waste your time responding to it. But a lot of times I don't know. A lot of times somebody will say something, and there are people so fucking stupid in the world, and sometimes I'm one of them, that say stupid shit. And I want to address it. But anyway, all right. All right, fellas, that's all I got. That's Gabbing and Games for today. I will be back tomorrow with something. I don't know. I think here's what I'll tell you. I played Atomic Heart, my review impressions, whatever. I certainly didn't finish it. But I played about, I don't know, 2 hours of it today, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I certainly don't think that it's going to replace. I still need to finish Dead Space. I still need to finish Hi-Fi Rush. I'm almost done with both of those. I have absolutely fallen head over heels in love with Wild Hearts. So I don't think right now I plan on interrupting any of those three that I'm playing. And of course, Marvel Snap. I have no desire to replace those with Atomic Heart. But, you know, Atomic Heart's pretty good. Here's what I'll say. Here's what we'll do for, I don't know. I got time. I got time for 3 Marvel Snap games. So thank you for watching. If you tuned in to watch the discussion about the FTC and all that shit. Hope you got something out of it. I sure did enjoy hanging out with you guys and gals. Thank you so much for that. But right now, that's the end of that. I'm going to do a couple of Marvel Snap matches, and then I'm going to head off. I got a lot of chores I got to get done around here. So let me set that up for us real quick. I love that fucking game, man. I love me the Marvel Snap. Goodbye, Kevin. Good to see you, sir. Hello, Novadamas. Good to see you, buddy. What did I find in the coal mine today? Somebody's been writing big deals. I'm not going to say what that means. Okay, hang on. Here comes Marvel Snap. I know I got stuff on my face. I know. Hang on. Let me get the chat back. I just lost it. Hang on. There it is. Okay. Consoles are for kids, but they have 18 plus games. Ethical? I don't think consoles are for kids. I think consoles are a method to distribute video games. Yeah, it's the ashes of the console war. Have I considered expanding my brand to adult toys? Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, buddy. All right, let's put this on. All right, I am blocking my thing. I'll put up a code. Here we go. What do I want to play with? Well, I'll play with LoJack right now. All right, there's the code. If you play Marvel Snap, first one in, hop on in there, baby. It's 16418. See if you can take on the king. I doubt it, though. See ya, Seven. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. One, I'm going to turn off the phone. Let me turn off the phone there. Because it needs all my focus. You know who will probably jump in here is Rob the Mod, and it's just like I feel so bad for him because he really wants to be good. We can't all be good at things, at all the things. He's good at programming. He's good at making games. We can't all be good at things like playing Marvel Snap. That's okay. I don't play MODOK. I've yet to get Andrea, I know. I've yet to get into that particular card. How do you join me? You load up Marvel Snap and you put the code in under the little joystick icon. And that is how it works. Addy Pie. Come on now. Someone. Where are all of the takers? Where? Oh, who's coming in? Cal is coming in. Cal-El is coming in. All right. Let's see where this goes, fellas. Let me turn down the audio a little bit. Well, we got ourselves Crimson Cosmos. That's a piece of shit. We're not playing anything there. It can go fuck itself. What do we got? Quicksilver. That's a rookie move. I don't know. I'm just fucking with him. Come on now. I should not have done that. Should not have done that. I'm thinking too quick. Snap basically means you can kind of double down. And when you're playing against one other person, you play up to 5 different matches. They're very quick matches. And depending on how much you've bet with the cube up here, it takes their greens down. And ultimately, it's like a health bar. And whoever kills the other person wins. All right, what do we got? That's a gift. Oh, I'm going to play a couple games. I will. Although I do need to go get a Coke, but... Yeah, love that Green Goblin. Come on now. This will not end well for Cal. It might, though. So now I'm risking... now we're all risking... Let's see, I think we're ultimately going to risk 8. So if I lose, I'm going to lose all of these. Love that card. Never use it, but I love it. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Boom. Get the fuck out of here. Go and get your shine box. Yep. Ah, you fuck. You fuck. All right. Now, what's fun, though, about this is now I get to know what cards he has because we're playing each other again. So now I got to play a little more conservatively. Here we go. Come on now. Fuck. Was that you, Addy Pie? You piece of shit. It ain't over. It ain't over, motherfucker. You walking over. Limping back. Come on, Cletus. Come on now. Come on now. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be, baby? Lee opening. Interesting choice. You're gonna get fucked. Wow. That's pretty vulgar, Jeffy. I know. I know. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does, folks. Don't be looking at my screen either, motherfucker. Cheap. Get the fuck out of here. Go home and get your fucking shine box. Yeah, I don't screen peek. I can't screen peek. What if I could? No, I wouldn't. Opponent snapped. I ain't snapping for shit right now. I could lose. That's it. That's it. That was useless. Can't play that card. Oh shit. Mother Motherfucker! That was close. Good game. That was close. Here we go. One more. Motherfucker. Hold up. Atomic Heart, Sam. 1976, 8. I liked it. I didn't love it. I have some issues with it. I think it's like a 7.5 out of 10 was my takeaway. There's a lot to like about it, actually. I just, I'm playing so many other things right now that are engaging me. Maybe I'll come back to it, but it was solid. It definitely, I love parts of it. The world building at the beginning was amazing. It's really well made. There's some problems, but What was the final card? Addy Pie? I don't even remember. Quick question. If you're given the opportunity, hang on a sec. Sizable budget, would you be interested in making more God of War? Maybe if it was a 2.5D Castlevania style God of War, yes. But I wouldn't want to make God of War kind of what it is now, which I'm not knocking it. It's brilliant. People love it, but it's not my kind of game. Oh, that card. Yeah, no, Killmonger's the shit, man. Oh, did I not end the turn? Sorry, Rob. Oh, I did not order a PSVR 2. I have no interest in that. If some games come out for it I want to play, I'll get it. But right now I'm just like, eh. Why did these things... Okay. Yes, totally streaming State of Play. Watch this. This goes out to Rob the Mod. Thank you for flying, Air Jeffy. No, I fucked that up. Victory. Hopes for State of Play. Here's what I'll say. I'm very curious to see Suicide Squad. They said they're going to do kind of a semi-deep dive on that. I still, to this day, don't know what the fuck the gameplay is. I believe it's more like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's not like a Gotham Knights game, but I don't really fucking know. And then I'm always curious at, the new stuff they're going to announce on VR. If a game comes along that makes me go, holy shit, I want VR, I would love that. But so far, nothing I've seen makes me say that. So, Little Devil Inside. Yeah, man. I would love that. Atomic Heart, my review is going to go up. Impressions. Whatever. Pretty soon. Overall, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. It's fun. Okay. All right, Seven, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out with us. Ooh, I like this space. This is good space. Yeah, like the stream, you all so-and-sos. Come on now. You want to fucking flood that, Rob? You going to hell, you son of a bitch. Fine. Okay. Oh, shit, Jaffe. Idiot. I just gave that to Rob the mod. What an idiot. What an idiot I am. Jaffe, why you so stupid? I don't know. You know, I try so many things. Okay. All right. I got it. Gotham series? What's that? Like Gotham Knights? Fuck you, Psychotic Assault. I'm a fucking savant. That's why I can do it in 2 hours. Goodbye. Come on, Rob. Victory. You telegraphed that this morning on Discord. Odin's really good with Gamora. All right, fellas, it's Gabbing and Games. I got shit to do. Thank you for hanging out with me. I sure do appreciate it. Like the stream, consider subbing, consider becoming a member. All the shit you do on this kind of crazy social media world of ours. I do appreciate that. Whoa. But I'll be back tomorrow sometime. In the meantime, be well. You'll win soon, Rob. Maybe. That's right, Mutant Mill. We'll soon be watching a Twist Metal TV show. All right, be well, be nice, be kind, all that good stuff. I'm going to go wash my face. See you guys. Bye, everybody.